Ornate cast iron became very popular during the Victorian era. Many cast iron benches could be seen in railway station waiting rooms, on station platforms, even as seating in late 19th century railway cars. Benches were made by casting the ends, then bolting them together, sometimes using just the boards of the bench. Many images of cast iron ends can be found on the internet. The question is, how can these be used to model a cast iron bench in Blender? One could start with a single vertex and extrude to copy the outline, although this would be somewhat tedious. Fortunately, there is another way. One can use an image vectorizing program to convert the image to an SVG file that can then be imported into Blender. One such program, Photopea, is available on the internet and can be used for free. Inkscape, a free program that you can download to your computer, can also convert images to SVG files. In addition to using an image vectorizer program to convert the image of the end to an SVG file, we are also going to use a Bezier curve and an array modifier to add the boards to the bench. To construct the bench in Blender, we are first going to clean up an image of an end in GIMP. Select an image from the internet, or you can use the one provided here. Images usually come in pairs, so we will first crop the image to isolate one end. Open GIMP and load the image. Select the Crop tool, keyboard shortcut Shift plus the C key, and crop out the right-hand image. After selecting, select the Enter key to complete the cropping. Select the Fuzzy Selection tool, keyboard shortcut the U key, and select the background outside of the image, dragging to expand the selection. Be careful not to include any part of the image. You can use the keyboard shortcut Command plus Scroll to zoom in, and Spacebar plus Drag to pan the image. Cut out the background, keyboard shortcut Alt plus the X key. Select the enclosed backgrounds and remove them too. Select all of the background cutouts. Invert the selection, keyboard shortcut Command plus the I key. Select the Paintbrush tool, keyboard shortcut the P key, and increase the brush size to 200 pixels. Paint in the end to form a silhouette. Save your file by selecting File menu, Export As, name the file End, select the desktop as the destination, select File Type by extension, and select PNG, and select Export twice. Close GIMP. Open Photopea. Select Open from Computer and locate and load the end.png file. In the Image menu, select Vectorize Bitmap and OK. In the File menu, select Export As and SVG, then select Save. Close your Internet browser. Open Blender and delete the cube primitive. In order to import the SVG file into Blender, you need to activate the importer. Open the Preferences window and select the Add-on tab and type in Scalable. Check the activation box for the Import-Export Scalable Vector Graphics SVG 1.1 format. Save your preferences and close the preference window. In the Layout workspace and in Object mode, load the end.svg file. Keyboard shortcut, select the File menu, select Import, and select Scalable Vector Graphics SVG, and locate and load the file. Switch to Top View. Select All, keyboard shortcut the A key, and zoom in, keyboard shortcut the Home key. Deselect the curve. Then in Object mode, select the Path curve. Convert the curve to a mesh. Keyboard shortcut, select the Object menu, then select Convert, then select Mesh. Switch to Edit mode and select the mesh. Keyboard shortcut the A key. Select Limited Dissolve. Keyboard shortcut the X key, then select Limited Dissolve. Open the Options window. Keyboard shortcut the F9 key. Increase the max angle to approximately 8 to remove as many vertices as possible without distorting the mesh. Switch to the PBR Painter workspace and delete the SVG matte material. Switch back to the Layout workspace. We can now select all, the A key, and toggle on and off wireframe and X-ray modes, Shift plus the Z key, to better see the vertices. We now want to continue deleting vertices that are not contributing significantly to the overall shape. To do this, we will use dissolve vertices, limited dissolve, and space. It is convenient to add these temporarily to the Quick Favorites pop-up menu. Select each in turn, right mouse button, and select Add to Quick Favorites. Space will equally distribute a selection of vertices. Use either box select or circle select, keyboard shortcut the C key, to select multiple vertices. Increase or decrease the size of the circle when circle selecting by scrolling. Exit circle selection using the right mouse button. Select vertices and dissolve to remove imperfections. After selecting Limited Dissolve, select the pop-up menu and increase or decrease the max angle to decrease or increase the number of vertices. Continue around the mesh, removing vertices. I ended up with 232 vertices. Rename your mesh End. Save your work. Save your Blender file as end01.blend. We now want to give the end some volume and shape. We will begin by sizing the end mesh. Switch to object mode and move the origin to the center of the geometry. Place the mesh at the world origin. Rotate the mesh on the x-axis 90 degrees and switch to front view. Add a cube primitive and select the Home key to zoom out. Open the Properties panel and select the Item tab. In the Properties window, select Imperial Measurement. Set the Z dimension to 17 inches by entering 1.42 feet. This will be the height from the ground of the seat of the bench. Move the cube mesh up on the Z-axis 0.71 feet so that it sits on the X-axis. Select the end mesh and scale the end mesh by 5. Move the end mesh to sit on the X-axis. Apply the transformation. Keyboard shortcut Control plus the A key and select Rotation and Scale. Delete the cube mesh. We now want to outline the parts of the mesh that we will indent. We will indent both sides of the ends, but we will indent only the seat and back and the legs, not the rest of the ironwork. Reselect the end mesh and switch to Edit mode. Add edges, keyboard shortcut the J key, to outline the back plus the seat and each of the legs. Merge any vertices that are near where you want to add an edge. Keyboard shortcut the M key and select Merge at Center. Toggle off wireframe and X-ray mode. Dissolve the other edges that divide up the faces. Leave those that will not dissolve. Switch to face selection mode and select the back plus seat face. Insert the face, keyboard shortcut the I key, and drag. In the options window in the lower left-hand corner, or keyboard shortcut the F9 key, set the thickness to 0.02. Select and insert the legs. If any vertices in the corners have crossed each other, switch to vertex selection mode. Select the vertices and merge. Select all of the faces and extrude on the y-axis 0.125 feet. Now let's indent the back, seat, and legs on both sides. Select the back, seat, and leg faces on one side and extrude on the y-axis 0.042 feet. Select the same faces on the other side and indent minus 0.042 feet. We can now duplicate the ends so we can complete forming the right and left. I'm going to follow the Blender convention of naming the end on the left side of the screen the left end, and the end on the right side of the screen the right end, when viewing the bench from in front. To finish the ends, we need to add the lip, upon which the boards of the bench will sit and be attached to the ends. Select the faces on the inside under the seat and back and extrude 0.084 feet. Select the faces on the inside under the seat and back of the other end and extrude minus 0.084 feet. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as end02.blend. To add the boards to the bench, we are going to use a Bezier curve in combination with the array modifier and the curve modifier. A Bezier curve is added to the scene by selecting the Add menu, then Curve, then Bezier. The curve is visible from top view. In Edit mode, selecting the curve brings control points and control handles into view. These can be selected and moved around using the Move tool. Selecting two control points and then opening the context menu, keyboard shortcut right mouse button, allows you to subdivide a segment and add a new control point. Likewise, selecting a control point at the end of the curve and then opening the context menu allows you to extend the curve by adding a new control point. Blender has powerful Bezier controls built into the program. These are accessed by opening the Preferences window, selecting the Add-on tab, and typing in Curve. Activate Add Curve, Curve Tools, and Add Curve Extra Objects. Now different types of controls can be added to each of the control points in turn. These are color-coded for easy recognition and manipulation. A description of the controls by Christopher 3D is available in this video. However, we are going to use a simpler approach. Using the technique outlined by Justin Geese, we are going to simply draw in our Bezier curve using the Annotate tool. Then we can adjust the control handles to meet our needs. With your end02.blend file open, Hide both end meshes. Switch to top view, and in object mode, add a Bezier curve. Select the Add menu, then Curve, then Bezier. Rotate on the x-axis 90 degrees. Switch to back view and unhide the end left mesh. If it is not already selected, in the outline window, select the Bezier curve. Switch to edit mode. Select all and delete the vertices. Keyboard shortcut the A key, then the X key, then vertices. Toggle on wireframe and X-ray modes. Zoom in on the seat and back. Select the Annotate tool and trace out the seat and back of the end. Delete vertices until you have only 5, 1 at each end and 3 in the middle. Left mouse button to select a vertex, then select the X key and delete. Select the A key to bring the remaining vertices back into view. Select the Move tool and, if need be, move the middle vertices so that you have 1 at the seat and 2 along the back. Now adjust the vertices by moving their control points and control handles. With the vertex selected, left mouse button on the end of a handle to select it. Drag the white circle to rotate the handles, and/or drag in the direction of the handle to lengthen or shorten the handle. Ideally, in addition to vertices at the ends of the Bezier curve, you want to have vertices between the curves, that is, at the inflection points where the line starts to curve in the opposite direction. Because of the length of the back, I found it helpful to have a second vertex along the back. Adjusting Bezier curves can be a bit fiddly, so be patient. Notice that other than the ends, the handles of the vertices align with the seat and the back. The trick is to use as few vertices as possible so that the curve flows smoothly. This would be a good time to save your work. Save your Blender file as end03.blend. Now let's add the boards. Toggle off wireframe and X-ray modes. Hide the end left mesh. Zoom out and add a cube primitive at the world origin. Open the Properties panel and select the Item tab. Change the dimensions of the cube mesh to x equals 0.1 feet, y equals 0.1 feet, and z equals 0.1 feet. Apply the transformations. Keyboard shortcut Control plus the A key and select Rotation and Scale. Add an array modifier, and under Fit Type, select Fit Curve. Under Curve, select the Bezier curve. Set relative offset factor x to 1.2. Add a curve modifier, and under Curve Object, select Bezier Curve. Unhide the end left mesh. Move the boards on the y-axis. Adjust the thickness of the boards by reducing the z-axis dimension. Toggle on wireframe and X-ray modes. Select the Bezier curve and adjust the position of the boards on the z-axis by moving the Bezier curve on the z-axis. Reselect the cube mesh and adjust the position of the front board by moving the boards along the x-axis. Keyboard shortcut the G key, then the X key, and drag. Lengthen the boards to 6 feet by increasing the Y dimension to 6. Position the boards relative to the end left mesh. If need be, switch to wireframe and X-ray modes. Keyboard shortcut Shift plus the Z key. Unhide the end right mesh and adjust its position. Finally, let's clean things up. In Object Mode, select the cube mesh and apply the transformations. Keyboard shortcut Ctrl plus the A key, then select Rotation and Scale. Apply the Array modifier first. Keyboard shortcut select the chevron, then select Apply. Then apply the Curve modifier. Select the chevron, then select Apply. In the outline window, rename the cube mesh Boards. Delete the Bezier curve. Move the meshes to the top collection and delete the n.svg collection. Right mouse button, then select Delete. In turn, select the end meshes and smooth. Keyboard shortcut, select the Object menu, then select Shade Smooth. Add an edge split modifier. Set the edge angle to 50 degrees and apply. Select the Overlay chevron and then select Face Orientation. Select in turn each of the ends, switch to Edit mode, and flip normals. Keyboard shortcut Alt plus the N key, then select Flip. Save your work. Save your Blender file as blender01.blend.